All right, part two, and you can see that I've obviously made the initial sketch on layer one over here quite muted, and we'll just begin working in a layer over top of this to do our ink layer. And you can see that the pen I've got is a technical pen, and color is just set to black. So obviously this is just going to be our ink layer, okay? And we're now going to zoom in quite a bit so that my unsteady caffeinated hand can actually handle drawing this thing with some degree of precision, I guess. So we avoid things like that. That's okay. It's so small. It's all right. We're just looking for something that's moderately clean. And you know, usually I gotta move the iPad just a little bit. Yeah, that's probably about the right brush size. About that 16% or so when I'm doing this. And, you know, I think the thing that I want to be careful of is that I don't, I kind of keep to the spirit of the sketch, but not necessarily a direct interpretation of what I had earlier, right? So, in other words, I'm giving myself allowance to kind of, you know, change things. In other words, like that, right there. Okay, and you know, even though I kind of said I'm going to try to be steady here, at times that doesn't work for being loose too, right? So I want some things like that. What I just drew there. And if I don't like it, you'll notice it magically disappears by tapping twice with or I should say tapping once, but with 2 fingers. So if you see I don't get it perfect the first time, what an objective word, perfect, but there you go. Perfect to me, I suppose. Okay, so kind of bunch it up a little bit at the bottom. Everyone's probably had a issue with you know, like that at one point in their lives. A jacket that your mom bought when you were, I don't know, 12, but it was really meant for someone who was 15. It just had too much. But now being a parent, I know that there's reasons for that. It's because mom wants you to have that jacket for a long time. All right, so let's pull back on that. Yeah, I think that could work. Maybe ended up being a little straighter than I wanted, but you know, such is life sometimes. All right, so the thing I've got to kind of be careful of here, and I actually, would you believe I've kind of drawn this same pose once before for a character to kind of practice this tutorial, and the thing that I think I messed up on that one was this area right over here. I didn't feel like the first time I got it right. So I'm going to, again, I'll try to get all the lines coming out of here. So little pinch, obviously, with the underarms. And the real question is, what do we do at that point? Right there. I tried to do it a few times, I guess. Okay, all right. Now, as I said this in the last video, I wanted to do some sort of like insignia here. Just, I guess, demonstrate that mostly that this shoulder is leaning forward some, but maybe this also going to imply some sort of rank with our character. And, you know, we could always do like a couple buttons over here. Oh, I already had that sketched out. Okay. And hopefully you guys are sort of drawing along on your own, so you're not paying too much attention to me just zooming in and out and in and out. That's going to happen, though. All right. Then I think what we should do for this is sort of focus in on one aspect of the character at a time. That way we can, you know, it'd take me forever to go ahead and ink this whole thing. But if we do our inking for just the arm in this video, maybe you won't get too exhausted watching me do this. And I'm going to take the size of this down just a little bit and do some stuff like this. And try to be sure there's a little bit of a perspective thing happening where you can, you know, the lines on this side are going out that way, you know, like that. And take that back up just a little bit. All right, let's see if we can get this kind of angry hand in here. Tense hand, I should say. Sort of ready to mess stuff up. I think I might make that little point here. And I'm sure everyone knows this, but your best reference for your hands is probably just your own. Not always the easiest thing to draw, but so I think where this ends up is something like that. And probably you wouldn't see much of this other side. I'm gonna just totally flip that around. It's okay. And when I say it's just okay, that usually means I freaking hate it. No. All right, let's do a little bit of kind of just extra clothing swoops in there. And some of this stuff will kind of flesh out when we begin to color this guy in. But yeah, I think we've got a good enough start with this. And somebody on YouTube was nice enough to point out this neat little feature for coloring this, or you know, for shading, doing the flat layer. I gotta get used to saying that. But I think I need to close this off to be able to properly do it. So let's figure out how to do that. Oh, well, you know what? We've got to... I could start to do some of this over here, the our little cloak, and maybe that'll help me close things off a little bit. All right, so here's a line I could just erase later. So here's a little trick. And what you do is you set this to be a reference. Okay, they're gonna make a new layer. I'm gonna bring this down below the other one, and I'm gonna click on a new color. All right, so I'm just gonna now drag this out. Gotta be sure. Yeah, okay, I'm on that one. And you can see that it basically used the layer above as a reference for filling that in. But, you know, I can make that invisible now, and you can see that obviously I just filled it in on that layer. And let me just do it one more time. So go a little bit slower here. And actually, I kind of don't like that. I make that color a little bit lighter. Thought I had a nice... Oh, I think I want a little bit more green in it. Okay, let's just sample that. All right, so all I do is from the top right, that little circle, I just drag this out. And then if I just let go in there, I can also change the color drop threshold by just going left or right with your pen or your finger. And you can see that there's certain areas like right over there that are getting filled in a bit more, and then finally, you know, you can kind of overdo it and end up filling in the entire screen. So I'd say kind of do it as much as you possibly can until you overdo it, right? And then, of course, we could go back over here to our initial layer and, you know, get rid of that part that I, you know, did that too. Okay, so now that we've got this layer, we can begin to shade this guy. What I'm going to do is... select it. Okay, so you just tap on this, hit the select right over there, and again I'm going to go up and make another layer and grab a paintbrush. This time I might actually get that darker one than I had before, and just begin to do some of the initial shading on this. I think I could even make that a little bit darker. For this, I'm going to use the airbrush. Usually go with the soft brush. I kind of like the sizes it gives me for that. And yeah, here we go. All right, so this is the part that gets a lot of people. Me definitely. I'm one of them. I don't think I have a natural knack for this, but I can sort of figure it out. All right. So what I'm going to do is just start with the saturation down a bit. Kind of give myself, you know, some room to get darker if needed, right? Because I could go over top of that again. The saturation's down, and what I'll do is I'm just going to work on the sort of the right side for right now. I will go ahead and put a little bit of shading on the left side of this as well. But let's go ahead and I'm imagining my light source is off to the left side of the screen. So one thing I know is based on that, we'll have more light on the left and less on the right. So that's where we're going to begin with this, okay? And I can always make the brush a little bit smaller if I want to kind of come in here to some of these areas and emphasize it a bit more. And if you needed to, you can always go ahead and erase things. You know, so if you feel like, oh, I didn't want to put that much over there, that's fine as well. I'd say while you're kind of working with that soft airbrush on the paint side, you'd probably want to do the same thing with the soft airbrush on the, you know, if you find, oh, I don't like that, then erase with the airbrush as well. Okay, so you can see that there are certain parts that you get the feeling, okay, this would definitely be a little bit darker just based on the way that I can kind of swoop that in there, right? This might be a little dark. You know, it might also help you to think, okay, well, is the light source coming from below? You know, in which case, then you know that you could do things like I just did right over there, right? And I would like to say that there's no right or wrong, but it's like, who's that Supreme Court justice that says it? I know it when I see it, and there is at times a wrong. It's hard to tell. Okay, so let's again kind of darken it up a little bit over here. And of course, this is just one of many layers we'll use to shade this in. And obviously, you know, we can always go over here and see next to layer 4, it says that little N, probably for info. I don't know. What would that be other than a kind of cute way of saying info? I don't know. So I can adjust the opacity of it, and you can also do all sorts of other things like lighten it. So if you want to go the opposite of what you just did, you can do that too. A nice little multiplication effect just kind of darkens it up even more. But let's keep that as normal, and then let's flip the script, and we will grab a white color. I think you're gonna want to do this on another layer. Everything is. I've still got everything basically selected or masked from what I did earlier. So, you know, again, I've got that selection in there. So I'm not sorry if I didn't make this totally clear before, but that means I can only draw within what is selected. I don't think I did make that clear. Sorry. Fundamental point that we overlooked. All right. So again, just now lightening it up on this one side, and again, we kind of imagine that maybe it's a lot lighter on the bottom, and then so there would probably be places like right over here. Okay. No, the audio track did not just disappear. It's still there. I was just thinking about things. All right. Oh, and I did, you know what? I drew it. I drew it on layer 3. There's no real way to undo that, is there? Well, you know what? let's just commit to it then. I meant to draw it up there on layer 5, but that's all right. Well, you know what? Accidents do happen. It's okay. No point crying over it. I'm gonna go grab the my regular inking pen from before, so just this one. And now I'm gonna take that same white and I'm gonna go and almost sort of blast the sides with. It's not like I'm from Always Sunny. Blast it. Just blast the side with some of this white. Okay, so, you know, do some stuff like that. It's real hot. I think I got that brush just a bit too high. There we go. A bit too big. But this should now give me like a nice little side outline. Maybe even just do a little something there. Oh, too much. All right, let's take the selection off. Let's just see how this is going to look on something with a little bit of a darker background. Okay, so it's kind of coming together a little bit. Let's see. Maybe I'll leave it sort of dark for right now. Just to give me an idea of, you know, most likely it's going to have I'll do a dark background anyway. So what this would certainly do is show you that, you know, how those colors are looking relative to, you know, how it's probably going to finally look or be set. And just from that, looking at it now, you go, well, it's, you know, what seemed really dark before is not seeming that dark now. So let's go ahead and just select this again. So again, I can just kind of work only within what I had, what I've drawn. And this time let's try to work on a layer that is new and not has anything else on it. So this time around, let's go ahead and grab just a full black, and so you can see I've just got, you know, like that color there. And again, let's put in some more darker spots. This is definitely one of those times when the pressure sensitivity of the Apple pen that I'm using definitely comes into play. At times I feel like it's not always that necessary. You could get away with you know, just a soft whatever those little pens are called, soft tip pencil, but here it definitely helps a bit. Basically, you don't have to go back and kind of, you know, neurotically change your opacity. That would be the other kind of way of dealing with that. Okay. All right, now I would probably go and, again, just as a safety, let's just make another layer. Well, we'll end up kind of compressing all these together in a little bit, but grabbing the studio pen, maybe even the gel or brush pen. We'll go with studio pen for right now, and making a layer that is gonna just by default be less opaque, right? And that way my brush opacity can stay all the way up. And well, actually, let me show you why I'm doing this first. So what I want to avoid now is a situation like this where I can kind of double up on the darkness. Okay, so what I'm looking for is a consistent color. And yeah, okay, so again, set that all the way up, but then take your layer down to this. And I'm gonna basically kind of do what I did with the white on that side, and then just find places that I'm just gonna fully kind of color in with that. And I know that might kind of seem a little counter to what we've, you know, done so far with our sort of, you know, very methodical shading, but I don't know. think this is good too. So we can come down here and do some stuff like that. I think this is kind of when you get what I call happy accidents, you know, where you can kind of go, ooh, didn't know I needed that, but now that I see it, I know I like it. No. Somebody just sent me a random direct message on Twitter that said, good luck. Thanks. Good luck to you too, sir. And a good day. All right, let's take a look at where we're at now. Yeah, that's pretty much what I was going for. Hope that is the general theme of all these lessons. Pretty much what I was going for. And again, just I'm going to keep piling on the layers. It's going to go up one more time. I'm going to go back to the technical pen. I'm going to, well, the opacity is already up. And so you can see it looks like that. I'm going to take the size down. It's probably a little bit more like 5-6%. And then let's go in here and do a little of this. Well, you know, I don't need to select this anymore. Do a little of what I consider sort of your more traditional comic book shading, where you do a lot of lines like that. You might even do something like this. And again, this is one of those cases where you just kind of you gotta do it almost where you feel it, you know. So you might come in and just do a little bit there, and try to be aware of, you know, this effect. You know, if you're going to do these lines, kind of figure out a, you know, a contour for them. And that, and I don't mean like a perspective one, just, you know, a contour of the fabric, I suppose. So it looks like there's, you know, something that makes sense about them. Put it that way. All right, and maybe I don't really like that one. I think you could also get away too with, in some cases, drawing extra kind of thinner lines like that, right? And if I was going to do it right there, I'd probably have it just go along with that shadow if I can do it. All right. Yeah, so you get, hopefully you get the idea of where I'm headed here. What to do inside of this one, though. Something like that. Yeah, I think this is about what I was trying to do. Oh, you know what? Up here, I'd probably kind of stick to what's going on with that, whatever this thing is. We're going to call it metal plate. Do something like that. Okay. And, you know, in some cases, maybe even use this as a, now that you've got this kind of thinner pen, use this as an opportunity to taper out some of these lines a little bit. And maybe just, yeah, do some stuff like that. Just kind of fix them up a little bit. It'll probably show in the end, you know. So someone looks at it and goes, golly, that's a pretty line. And, you know, take some spots like this and just kind of fill it in with, you know, full black. Do something like that. Maybe even make it seem a little like it was done with kind of with a, I don't know, pen and paper. Sketchy stuff like that. Sketchy. Like the bad part of town, sketchy. All right. Stuff like this that makes me think, ooh, somebody did that with a pen. And let's do this one. Make this one look a little bit better. Okay. All right, now we can. I think we can kind of pull back, and you know, there's still stuff to be done. I could always do that, you know, later on. But just in terms of getting that initial fabric in there, yeah, I think it's all right. And probably what I would do is start to figure out now, what of these layers, which of these layers can I compress onto one another. I forgot I had that reference. Didn't really need it, but so I'd probably merge this one down. So you got, you know, you're just left with that if you were to view that one. And then for merging some of these other ones, let me select. Let's see. All right. I don't really have to do this, but at a point, it just kind of gets annoying to have so many layers. So you can see that now I've just got the ink layer and then just everything that I kind of shaded in there from before. And yeah, I'm gonna hit pause on this. Pause. I'm gonna hit stop on this video, and we'll come back. And we'll continue with this. Will undoubtedly be an epic length illustration. I might fill in a few parts between the videos though.